Right. We'll go ahead and get started in the MidJourney image generation room. Thank you for all staying for art class. I'm excited about this. One of the cool things that I did in making this presentation is pretty much everything that you will see on screen was created with MidJourney. All of you who have interacted with any sort of AI-based system know that you need to prompt the system, tell it what to do. So for every image I've generated here, I have shown you the prompt down below. And this is an example of image. You are able to upload images to MidJourney in case you want to make a selfie or have your own face as input. So I uploaded my Gates Foundation work headshot and told it to make a teacher standing in front of a blank chalkboard. One thing MidJourney does not do well at all is text. So if you do want text to appear, you have to make it yourself in a text box and drop it on top. But welcome to MidJourney School. What I thought we could talk about this morning, a little bit about what MidJourney is as a platform, the basics of getting started. We'll walk through some tips for prompting, and then we'll do a little exercise. It's going to be, we'll see how it goes. We're going to try some Menti and some Discord and some live demo stuff. We'll see how she goes. And we'll finish off with a quick discussion on responsible use. I mean, I think you all heard this morning that safe and responsible use of these tools is so critical. And it's not something we're going to be able to solve in this room in the 45 minutes or so we have for this demo, but it is something I wanted to touch on and point you to some resources on. So what is MidJourney? It is quite simply a generative AI platform that will take natural language text prompts and it will turn them into images. The very first beta release was mid-2002. It is constantly being updated, and the most recent update to the underlying model was in May of 2023. Later on in the talk, I'll walk you through how MidJourney has evolved, and you'll see how its capacity has improved with every successive model. But it is constantly being updated. It's a very small team, I think about 11 people that keep MidJourney going. It's really similar to the other image generators that are out there. You heard Kate refer to Stable Diffusion this morning. You've probably heard about DALL-E, which sits under Bing. And Josh, in his opening slides for this session, showed some mosquitoes that he generated with Bing. I personally, of all the tools that are out there, I like MidJourney the most. I think it's the one that's best suited for kind of hyper realism and really adopting different styles. So I asked DALL-E to give me a blue merle Australian shepherd dog in cartoon style. That's what you get out of DALL-E. MidJourney, just a little bit more snazzy, I think. And I don't know if any of you played with the original DALL-E way back when. It's not great. This is, if you asked for a blue merle Australian shepherd from the original DALL-E, which is still implemented in Crayon, it should be AIYON, sorry, there's a typo there. But yeah, image generation has come a long way since what we were getting out of these systems 6 or 8 months ago. What was this trained on? You heard Kate talk and Jared talk about Lion 5B this morning. This is from the Lion.ai project. It is the largest publicly available text-labeled image data set. Lion stands for Large-Scale Artificial Intelligence Open Network. They're a nonprofit, and their goal is really to democratize access to large-scale open data sets, and they really see themselves as a work in progress and a group that is constantly learning from the community and incorporating community feedback. So Lion 5B is not an end, it is a process. It will constantly be refined and I think will be adapted in response to some of the challenges and issues that you heard raised this morning. It's got 2.3 billion English language labeled images. It has 2.3 billion images labeled in other language and it has 1.2 billion images that are non-language specific. So a product name, like Kleenex, box of Kleenex. It is both a data set and the associated software stack. As I said, it's really kind of viewed as both a product and a process. All of that is open source, available through their website. And both Jer and Kate alluded to how Lion 5B was created in their talks this morning. First, there's the scraping of billions of images off the web. They use a tool called Common Crawl to do that. They ingested something like 3 billion web pages worth of data that works out to over 50 billion images. They then go into images that are labeled with the alt text tag, and they extract that alt text. They run a classifier to determine what language that text is written in. Then they do filtering for both redundancy of image text pairs and anything really low quality. They have also developed classifiers that are designed to tag offensive imagery. This can be anything sexual in nature, harmful, racist, derogatory, etc. So those things are tagged using an automated process. There is human in the loop, but as you heard Kate mention, that can be extremely problematic. But they end up scraping about 3% of the total data set is tagged as being potentially offensive. If you're using this as a training data set, you have the option to turn that on or off. The whole data set, all of Lion 5B is searchable. You can go onto their website and search with any keyword. I looked for blue merle Australian Shepherd. So it will bring those back up. There's results in a few different languages. And every one of the image text pairs that they've saved within Lion is also tagged with metadata, things like the image's height and width, a unique identifier, the original URL that it was taken from. And you can also do reverse searching of this. So Kate, at the end of her presentation, alluded to this tool that her group was about to release to let you see if your images have been incorporated into any of these large-scale training data sets. There's a great resource to haveibeentrained.com. You can put your name, you can put a selfie of you in there and see if anything that resembles you has ended up in that training data set. I put my work headshot in the upper left there, and this is what apparently is in Lion 5B that looks like me. I myself do not seem to have made it in the system, but yeah, as Edward just pointed out, they really did do a good job of identifying bangs and a dark, blunt haircut, which I realize I've put my hair up today, so I've screwed up the system here. But you can go in and with haveibeentrained.com see if you are in the Lion training data set. More about the data set. There's a really fantastic appendix in the paper. Kate didn't get to talk about this morning, but she some work that she did with Microsoft Research and some other fantastic folks in the field have created basically a minimum standard for data sets, and they call these data sheets for data sets. And if you want to learn more about that, the link to the paper is there. You can just search data sheets for data sets, but this is a standard wherein anybody that's creating a data set for training any sort of AI platform is encouraged to describe that data set using this data sheet format that talks about everything from the motivation of the work all the way through to security and ethical considerations. So that is a little bit about the underlying training data set. Let's go back to MidJourney now, and we'll talk about its progression over time. It was first released in 2022 using the V1 model. And on MidJourney's website, they show you, using the example of vibrant California poppies, just how much the model has changed over time. So this is what V1 looked like. Every 3 or 4 months, they do an improvement. V2, V3, V4, And this is the current version, V51, which was released on May 3rd. And with every improvement to the model, what you're seeing are changes in things like efficiency, how quickly does the system be able to generate the image, coherency, which is a term in the generative imagery space. Coherency refers to, does the text match the image? Is it drawing the right thing? And then quality has improved dramatically over time as well. I think we saw that very much with the example of early Dolly and what it thought a dog looked like. Aesthetic improvements over time too. As I said earlier, one of the reasons I like MidJourney a lot is because it does have this kind of hyper-realistic and photorealistic vibe. You'll see some of that later with some incredible images that are almost indistinguishable from photographs. But it also has a very good kind of default non-photorealism aesthetic built into the system. And so MidJourney, with every successive model, has made changes to that underlying aesthetic and has really sort of improved things. So in this latest version, 5.1, you are seeing better interpretation of the prompts that are being submitted to the system. You're seeing sharper edges in the imagery, less kind of random weird crap like these sort of hallucinations that Kate referred to. And they also, in this version, introduced the ability to do repeating patterns for the first time. If you do not like the default aesthetic, you can also turn it off by using the style raw tag. We'll talk more about parameters later, but this is an example of that vibrant Californian poppies prompt with 5.1 default aesthetic, and then with that default turned off, and you get that much more sort of photorealistic thing that I mentioned. There's one other model that sits in MidJourney that can be turned on. They collaborated with a studio called Spellbrush that specializes in kind of anime style art. And they created a module called Niji 5 as the current version. There's Niji 4 and Niji 5. And by applying the Niji model, you end up with this much more anime aesthetic. And we'll look at some more examples of that later on. They've got 3 Niji styles built in: cute, expressive, and scenic. So here is exactly the same prompt: blue Merle Australian Shepherd dog, interpreted by the 3 different versions of the Niji model. Before we get into showing you how it works and how to get started on it, I wanted to show you just a few creations from the MidJourney community, just to show you the power of this thing. One of my favorite artists working in this space is somebody called Julie Wieland, and she is really interested in how can you get MidJourney to behave like a camera and you were out in the real world photographing things. So this is her prompt: photography shot through an outdoor window of a coffee shop with neon sign lighting, window glares and reflections, depth of field, grandpa in a suit with a cup of coffee in his hands, sitting at a table, portrait. She gives some camera and film information, an f-stop. She tells you what aspect ratio, 2:1, she's using, the current V5 model. And this is spectacular. I mean, this is really, really, really incredible stuff. You can also make just cute things. A lot of stuff in MidJourney is people generating kind of fan art and fantasy art. These are just a few that I grabbed from people's daily posts on the MidJourney server, a Discord server, showing what they'd made. Felted kittens in Candyland, like the felt texture on this is extraordinary. Chinese dragon, its body a burst of radiant hues, spirals through a dreamscape of psychedelic galaxies, and a charming hidden fantasy square, a bohemian paradise with elevated walkways connecting buildings like tree branches. So it really can generate a tremendous amount of cool stuff. So let's talk about taking your first steps in MidJourney. And this is, again, a MidJourney generated imagery with the simple prompt of give me a black and white photograph in 2:1 aspect ratio with the theme of first steps. So MidJourney is a bot, and you interact with it through Discord. Out of curiosity, how many folks have gone on Discord for anything in the past? Okay, about like a third of the room. So for those of you who may not have played on Discord before, it is a social media platform that lets you interact with other users. You can chat with them. You can make voice calls with them even. You can post to these community message boards. And it's really, really popular amongst the gaming community. People will build whole communities around particular games or even particular gamers, and people will log into that server and interact with each other in that space. So if you want to use MidJourney, the first thing that you do have to do is set up a Discord account. Anyone can do that super, super easily. It takes about 5 seconds. So once you've got a Discord account, you can interact with Discord through its browser version. You can just open up a website, go to the Discord site, log in, and start interacting with it in a browser window. I personally find it a little more helpful to have the Discord app installed on my desktop, and I work with it there. I just fire it up and you're good to go. So as long as you've got an internet connection, A-okay. Anyone can create a server on Discord, and you can invite the MidJourney bot to come to your server. So anybody working on your server can have chats back and forth with the bot. If that's a little too next level Discord for you, you can simply join the MidJourney Discord server and interact with the bot there. I personally like, when you're first taking those initial baby steps in MidJourney, go and interact with the bot on the MidJourney server. It is a fantastic place to learn about how the system works, to see what people are inputting as various and sundry prompts. So when you go to the MidJourney server, you'll see a list of the channels down the side. Click it through some of the information channels. You can hear about things like what are the latest updates to the system, what are the rules, the code of conduct for the site. There's, if you're experiencing free trial or if you have a paid membership, you have support channels where you can post questions. And there's all sorts of fantastic user-generated content, both images and tutorials to help you create better images that you can interact with when you choose to do so through the MidJourney server specifically. Like I said, tutorials, this is one of the best things about the MidJourney Discord server and interacting with it on their own server is you can go into these channels. There's one called Prompt FAQs, and there's a chat channel called Prompt Chat, and people have written amazing tutorials that will teach you how to write prompts that will let you, for example, ensure that the camera is in a specific part of the image, like it's taking a particular view of your picture that you would like. There was a really cool tutorial I saw just the other day where you could upload your own photograph, a selfie that you like of yourself, and turn it with a few steps into a simple anime style. So the tutorials that you'll find on the MidJourney Discord, super, super helpful for new users and just start playing around. You can also invite the MidJourney bot to your own server if you want a much quieter experience. When you are on the MidJourney server, you would enter into one of the different channels. You'd be interacting with the bot there, but there's like 20, 30 other people who are in that channel interacting with the bot at the same time, and it can get a little bit chaotic. And I have to tell you, a lot of the people that are asking for images on MidJourney are asking for sort of like female anime fantasy stuff, and it can get a little weird. So I invited the bot to my own server that only I log into, and I just interact with the bot there. I only see my images that I'm requesting. It's just a calmer, more peaceful MidJourney experience. So I asked it for a calm, relaxing Zen oasis in the style of a watercolor. So I like that. The other way you can have a calmer MidJourney experience, no matter what server you are on, you can also just have a DM direct message conversation with the bot in your own little private chat channel. So again, nobody else is seeing the prompts that you're submitting to it. You're not seeing anybody else's prompts and the associated images. It's a lot calmer. So let's talk about how to get started on this. Once you have got your Discord account set up, you have either gone on the MidJourney Discord server or invited the MidJourney bot to your own server. To get it to do something, all you have to tell it to do is imagine. You type /imagine, the word prompt, and then type in whatever you want MidJourney to do. We will go into greater detail on prompting a little bit later, but I will mention now, if you are using this for the first time, and you've never done it on Discord before, MidJourney will give you a free trial of about 25 images, but yours will be like very low in the queue to be processed. So sometimes it can take a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes to get your images back. I subscribe to the MidJourney basic trial, and so I have unlimited images. It runs fairly fast, but this is at the end of the day, a subscription-based service, reasonably priced, but you do have to sign up for this thing. But once you've got your account, you're good to go. Just start typing imagine, and you'll see what happens. So what will typically happen is after anywhere from about 20 to 60 seconds, you will get a grid of 4 images. MidJourney likes to give you options, and so it'll take your prompt and it will interpret it in 4 different ways. Here I asked for a cartoon style blue Merle Aussie catching a Frisbee, and gave me 3 or 4 options there. And underneath your options will be a couple of buttons that I want to point out. The first is the one on the right, where you've got this little kind of refresh symbol. That's the reroll button. If you're like, none of these are what I was looking for, I want something a little different, you can hit reroll and MidJourney will present you with 4 new options. The other buttons, the ones that are labeled U, in previous versions of MidJourney, so this is no longer true of the default model, but in previous versions, U would allow you to upscale one of the images. The default image size in old versions was 512 by 512 pixels. It's now 1024 by 1024 by default, but in the old days, the U buttons were used to pick one of those images and upscale it to double the resolution. These days, the U button just lets you select which one of those you want to expand into full screen and download at 1024 resolution. V along the bottom is the variation button. So if you decided that you really liked maybe image 1 on this, you're like, okay, I think that's the best kind of version of a dog chasing a Frisbee. If you hit V1, MidJourney will go away, it'll think for a little bit, and it will give you 4 subtle variations on that theme. And again, those we would be presented with the upscale and the variation button. And people that are big MidJourney fans, they describe this sort of like serotonin hit when a really good image comes through and they've like refreshed it a few times. They're like, come on, MidJourney, come on, MidJourney. And then when it does like the most perfect thing that really captures that like, this was what I was imagining, it's like this moment, which is pretty cool. So we're going to try a live demo. Let's see how this goes. So what I'm going to try and do is see if my Discord server will pop up on the screen. I think I might have to extend my desktop. Those are my dogs. Please enjoy. Let's go over to, let's try this. Let's try this one. Does this work? Oh, we're getting so close. Come on, Discord server. Oh, get to see. Let's take that off. Let's go only on 1. Keep the changes. Let's try only on 2. Okay. Let's keep the changes. Yay, there we go. Now I just have to like look at my screen like this. Okay, that's fine. There you go. Ha ha, we did it. Okay, so let's, how do we want to do this? Let us go. Anybody whose birthday is May, June, or July, stand up. Excellent. You guys are going to give me some words. So what we're going to do, we're going to go down to here. And so you see, you do imagine, prompt. And so we are going to, let's see, let's get an adjective. Emerald. Okay, so let's ask for an emerald. We'll say emerald green to be nice and specific. Noun from Janet. Which one? City. City, an emerald city. Somebody's been watching The Wizard of Oz recently. All right, let's go. Let's get a type of, there's like Mad Libs on the fly. An emerald green city with, Edward, let's get something in that might appear in the sky. Spaceships, I love it. And let's get an adjective to go with the spaceships. What's that? I don't know. Futuristic spaceship. Let's try futuristic spaceship with futuristic spaceships flying through the sky. And then let's go in the style of, Hamachi, you were standing up earlier, in the style of cartoon or anime in the style of anime. And Dauda, bright colors, muted colors, pastel colors. Which one? Muted colors. Okay, in the style of anime and in, let's say, muted colors. Okay, let's see what we got. So we've inputted our prompt. It's waiting to start. The bot is doing its thing. And it should take, like I said, anywhere from 20 to 60 seconds. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you add it as a parameter at the end. I'll walk you through how to construct a prompt in the next slide. Punctuation, they say interact with it as if you were using proper grammar in a sentence, because it will start to look for commas so it knows which adjective to attach to which noun or preposition. So it's really cool. You can see it. It's still not finished. It's only 93% done, but as it thinks and thinks and thinks, it comes up with those. So I don't know. Let's see. I don't have a favorite. I kind of like, oh my God, they're all actually really good. Ooh, kind of like 2. So yeah, if we want to see more of 2, we'd go over to 2 and we'd say upscale 2. And like I said, it's not upscaling anymore because it is by default 1024 by 1024. And then you can go to the web and you can open it up in a browser window and you can download it, and it will also save it to your profile. Question? Oh, that's a great question. That goes down a rabbit hole of weird crypto. You could make anything that is digital art can be made into an NFT. So that could be something that somebody's created in the traditional sense. It could be something that somebody has made with MidJourney. It could be a photograph that somebody's taken. An NFT can be made from any digital art file. Great question. The confluence of things. I love it. So let's talk about prompting a little bit. I'm going to attempt to go back to this thing here, and let's go down here, and there we go. Okay, yeah, so prompting. This is how you make MidJourney do what you want. So as you've seen, it's really, really simple. You say /imagine prompt, and then you just tell MidJourney what you want to see. So that's the simplest type of prompting, like you see up there on the top. You can also get pretty complex with your prompting too. So if you want to, as I said earlier off the top, I made that picture of me in the anime style in front of the chalkboard by uploading my work headshot to the MidJourney server, well, actually to my own server, to the conversation. It gave me a URL for that image. I told MidJourney, be inspired by this URL. And then I said, this is what to take that picture and turn it into. And then if you have any parameters that you want to add, like the Niji model or like aspect ratio or something, those go at the end. So if you are making a more complex prompt, that's all you have to remember about the syntax is if you're pointing it at an image through a URL, that needs to go at the beginning of your prompt. If you have parameters, they need to go at the end, and then the little meat in the sandwich in between is what you want it to actually imagine. So some tips when it comes to prompting, simple things tend to work the best. You might want to tell it a particular subject. This could be anything, a person, a location, a character. You can give it a prompt to tell you about, or to tell it, do a particular style. I'd like to see this as a doodle or a watercolor sketch or cross-stitch tapestry. If you're imagining a scene sort of thing, you can say, do I want this to be like indoors, the Emerald City? It was so funny because this is some examples taken from a prompting tutorial, and I had no idea that Emerald City was going to be what we landed on in our own live demo. That was weird and cool. Lighting, what type of lighting do you want? Harsh studio light? Do you want very soft, fuzzy ambient lighting? What sort of color tone? Black and white, very vibrant colors. You can tell it a mood. You can tell it the composition. What type of image do you want? A big portrait, something from a bird's eye aerial view. Word choice matters as well. The more specific you can be with your language. If you want 3 cats in the picture, say 3 cats, just don't say cats. Use collective nouns, saying, like I want a flock of birds as opposed to just birds. And here's some examples from the MidJourney website itself that show you some of the different style choices. This is all using just cat as a prompt, but here's some examples of different artistic styles. What does the cat look like when you do cross-stitch embroidery? What does the cat look like in a traditional Japanese art style? What does a graffiti cat look like? What does it look like if you do a charcoal sketch of a cat? What does it look like if you do a life drawing of a cat? You can give it eras as inspiration as well. I love the 1980s cat. That is just about one of my favorite things. But yeah, you can definitely tell it an era. And you can tell it different types of colors. You can say specific colors. You can give it tones. You can give it tints, day glow, if you want it to be crazy and psychedelic and super cool. These are some of the parameters that you can specify. There's a whole list. You'll be able to find them on the MidJourney website itself. But some of the things you can do are aspect ratio. The default is a square, 1:1, but you can change that to be anything you want. One of the parameters that I like is the chaos parameter. The default is 0, and you just dial this up if you want things to get weirder. This is a prompt where I asked for a flock of multicolored birds in the style of Salvador Dali. On the leftmost image, you see default. You get some nice, orderly, tidy birds. When you set chaos to 100, you get 4 images that are very, very different from each other. And the first one doesn't even really kind of look like birds. It looks like a weird hybrid of like birds and microbes or something. So chaos is a fun one to play with, especially if you're just getting really creative and want to see what the system can do. You can give MidJourney negative prompts as well. If you don't want something to appear in there, you can say no, whatever. And tile, as I mentioned with the current 5.1 model, it for the first time supports images that can be tiled. So this is an example of, I asked for that prompt. I said, make it tileable. And when I pick one of those, I don't know, I think I picked image 1, you can repeat it over and over and you get perfect wallpaper background. I love Edward's face. He's like, oh my God, mind blown. So you can now make pretty much the coolest desktop backgrounds and things so easily. Love this. So let's do a little group exercise. We'll see how this goes. I've got another Menti. This is going to be a different Menti code than this morning. So what I want you to do first is think about how might you use MidJourney in your own everyday work. The code for this one, again, menti.com, MENTI.com, and the code is 66259733. Whether you're a modeler, quantitative scientist, public health professional, foundation strategy officer, what do you want to do these? Creating art for my place as a broke student. Oh, that's fantastic. Illustrations for a talk, creating logos. Visualizing math models. Ooh, exciting. I like that one. Art for presentations. Yeah, that is by far the thing that I have used it the most for is generating art for presentations. Sometimes you really want something, an idea to express, an image that will express some sort of abstract concept. You're like, I don't know, I need a mosquito like flying, emerging from a black cloud against a stormy background. And I mean, are you ever going to find an image that looks exactly like that, that's freely licensed in the public domain for use? No, but MidJourney can. These are great epic visual abstracts, educational courses, educational comic books. I love this cover for my first book. Oh my gosh, this is super fantastic. So let's write a prompt. Go into Mentipool and using one of those ideas that you had on the previous slide, think of a prompt that you might want to give MidJourney to make it do something for you. Maybe it is that cover for the first book. Maybe you want your public health comic superhero and you want to generate an image. Test out your prompt writing, and then we'll pick one and we'll stick it in MidJourney and see what happens. And don't worry about typing the imagine prompt. Just throw some text in that you think would be interesting to see the results of. Well, for prompt for first prize, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Oh, I like that. Nice and abstract. AI leading to the end of the world with dark colors. Oh, that's a good one too. Mosquito genes spreading through a population with chaos set to 100 and tiling. Model of disease spread in a population with treatment stopping it. Oh, a large vicious lizard in the daguerreotype style. This was fantastic. Let's go. Let's do the protein Jurassic Park logo. Dynamic, colorful, neurocardiac brain surgeon, swashbuckler roaming the planet, disease transmission. Oh my God, Albert Einstein making the case for regulated image generation. Let's go, let's try mosquito genes spreading through the population. So let's try this out. We're gonna go down here. Hey, imagine our prompt. Oops, I've already popped up. Oops, come back prompt. Live typing in front of a group is always weird. Mosquito genes spreading through a population. We wanted chaos to be 100. Oh, your parameters are always preceded by a double hyphen, by the way. And we wanted the tile parameter. Let's see what it gives us. Oops. We forgot the prompt bit. Come on. Now I know what I'll do. Let's just do it like this. Imagine prompt. Paste. Go. What will it do? What will it do? Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. Yeah, so the image that you've created, it is your creation technically, but there's a whole bunch of what does it mean to be a responsible synthetic image creator questions, and I'll end with a couple resources to point folks towards on that. But these are art that you created, but remember, it is being created by an AI trained on 5.8 billion images of questionable provenance and strange ownership. Choke on the bubbly because I'm so impressed with the result. That's actually really cool. We've got some like cartoony mosquito type things. I think the first image, let's make that one a bit larger, because it doesn't quite have, DNA or anything in it. It doesn't really have genes, but it's got dots. It's got something that's moving between the mosquitoes. So you could always think you could make variations. Let's just show you what that looks like. Click the button. It'll give us another 4 things inspired by this. And you can just keep iterating through this cycle over and over again, landing on really, really cool, interesting things each time. It is really super fun. The first day that I really realized how to start playing with this and interacting with it in a way that was really getting it to do what you wanted to do. It's like being a kid in a candy store. It's just so exciting. I love it. There we go. 4 variations. So you see with variations, it tends to be very subtle, but this is how you MidJourney. So I'm going to pop back and go down to, because I know the rest of the groups are going to be coming back soon. So I just wanted to finish off with a couple words on this responsible use idea. I got those. Let's go there. There we go. 2 of the resources I like a lot. One, you can find at Synthetic Media Partnership on AI.org. So this is the partnership on AI, and they have put together a framework on responsible practices for synthetic media. The other one is CPIC. CPIC is a media licensing group based out of Belgium, and they recently put out their ethical guidelines for responsible reuse and production of visual content. So with the partnership on AI, that framework really talks about what are some of the responsible practices, whether you are a creator of this work, whether you are a distributor of this work, or whether you are an entity like MidJourney who is helping to create the underlying infrastructure and technology that underscores all of this. And at the end of the day, a lot of the big takeaway message is really about transparency. Be transparent about when you have created synthetic media, when you are distributing it. It should be direct disclosure. You can also, there is a standard for embedding information about the image within the image file itself that tags it as synthetic media. So I encourage you to check that out. Understand and disclosed informed consent and how you have obtained it if you are making images based off a real individual or the creative outputs of a real individual. So if somebody has publicly licensed their work and you are using it as inspiration, you do need to give them credit. And CPIC has this wonderful series of principles. Whether you are creating a data set that you are going to use to train something like MidJourney, or whether you are actually creating media and imagery themselves, and they talk about how do you respect lawfulness, transparency, necessity, accuracy, and security in, again, creating one of these data sets or creating media from a platform that has been trained on one of these data sets. And at the end of the day, I like this statement from CPIC, and they really say that the entire value chain needs to be accountable, right all the way through from training the algorithm to publication of images made with that algorithm. So in each of those examples or each of those boxes, you see examples of how those principles would shake out and the things that you need to consider when you're looking at making a data set or making some synthetic media. I will end there. I know the other groups that have broken out are going to be coming back here at noon, which is about 2 or 3 minutes from now, to reconvene. But while we're waiting for folks to come back, any outstanding questions? I'll go Peter first.
On the question about ownership, who owns the image that you're creating? Is it MidJourney?
You do, because it is your creation, but I'm not sure the extent to which MidJourney is also involved. That is unless anybody in the room knows the answer.
So how my understanding is that any automatically generated image is not copyrightable. You can't own it. Anyone who sees that image can take it and use it. So if you put it online or something with it, somebody else, as of right now, there isn't any restriction. So for example, MidJourney, if they create an image that if you use MidJourney to create an image, you are welcome to use it even in a for-profit scenario. Anyone else?
But so is the rest of the world. Yeah. Perfect. Other questions? Yeah.
You have to cite them, right? But how does that go with LinkedIn? Do they allow you to use it?
Yeah, as we just heard from the answer here, any image that you create in MidJourney, it is yours to use as you see fit, even though it was created using the MidJourney platform. With these ethical principles, you have to be clear that this was generated synthetically with MidJourney, but it's not, a citation thing where you have to say, we did this, we used this prompt, etc. Yeah, so as you heard earlier, if you make it on MidJourney, it is uncopyrightable. It's free for the world to use. So it's up to you. If you want something that you made in MidJourney not to be used by anybody else for any other purpose, there's no recourse there. It's free for the world. Yeah.
That was really fun.
Yeah, you're good.
Thank you. I was just going to comment. I don't know if others have seen this, but there's a lot of scientists generating journal art for the covers.
Mm-hmm.
The paper and the journal asked if we have any, captain.
Yeah.
We're generating really cool covers with MidJourney. And I've seen this unfold on Twitter where people will comment on their cover, particularly artists, saying that they that the art that they made via MidJourney is really a mishmash of
all the art that went into Lion 5B. Yeah.
It starts this whole interesting conversation, and I'm just curious if how you feel about that topic. And
yeah, it's such it's the one that's at the crux of, I think, all of AI image creation. And creators with something like Lion 5B, and as Kate mentioned earlier, you can flag your images to be taken out of training data, but that's just like solving 0.1% of the problem. There's not that many people that are going to be doing that, and I think it's your own. It's your own decision. I mean, for me, it would be like, if I were creating art with MidJourney, am I taking a commission? Am I taking work away from an artist that would be doing this by hand? If I'm making a slide for a talk and I'm just like, I need a picture of me in front of a chalkboard for an audience of 50 people in a room in Seattle, I'm not going to be super worried that somebody's missing out on livelihood because of that. But if it's something like a magazine cover, a journal cover, The Economist actually did an AI-generated cover with MidJourney a few months ago, and they wrote an editorial about this was our sort of thought process for this, where I think you're going to see things land. There will always be, at the end of the day, even though we have tools like MidJourney, any of us that aren't professional artists still almost kind of lack a certain je ne sais quoi when it comes to creating art. So I think in the creator space, you're going to see people that are always just creating on their own, but there's probably going to be a big part of the creator economy that starts to rely on MidJourney as a tool for inspiration, as a tool for exploration, and then they bring that je ne sais quoi and take the finished product and take it even further. So great question. I see your other breakout groups are coming back. So thanks, Team MidJourney. That was super fun. I will unplug my laptop and Josh is going to come back up and do a few follow-up slides. But thanks, friends.